Everyone, it's the Next Tip Podcast, episode 115 with Mikel
and Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So, today we're doing our three topic episode, and yeah, uh, it's going to be a good one. Tanika?
Yeah, hopefully. So our topics. We're going to be talking about anxiety and its link with the potential link with the gut
Mm-hmm,
health.
mm-hmm,
Um, Woman was awarded some money after falling off a Harry Potter ride,
mm-hmm.
and Canadians, I think now or soon, will require a visa to travel to Brazil. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
So let's get into it.
yeah. Let's get to it.
So, researchers have discovered that naturally occurring gut microbes produce indoles, I think is how you say it,
Mm-hmm,
which are compounds that play a key role in regulating anxiety related brain activity. This
mm-hmm,
finding paves the way for next generation therapies that use probiotic microbes to support mental health and potentially reduce anxiety symptoms.
mm-hmm,
So, scientists from Duke Nuss Medical School and the National Neuroscience Institute have identified a significant link between gut microbes and anxiety related behavior. Their newly published study in EMBO molecule medicine reveals that microbial metabolites, which are these indoles, directly influence brain activity associated with anxiety. This
mm-hmm,
discovery opens the door to potential probiotic-based treatments that could support mental health.
mm-hmm.
Mental health disorders have been on the rise in recent years. I think a lot of us know. I don't think there's a single person at this base that doesn't deal with anxiety. Um, a nationwide study found that 1 in 7 people in Singapore, so this is in Singapore, has experienced a mental health condition, including depression and anxiety. In 2019, these disorders ranked among the top 4 leading causes of disease burden in Singapore. Microbes and anxiety. So the research team thus set out to investigate the role microbes play in anxious behavior. In preclinical studies, the scientists observed that in a germ-free environment, those that were not exposed to live microbes show significantly more anxiety-related behavior than those with typical resident live microbes.
Mm-hmm.
Further investigation revealed that the increased anxiety was associated with heightened activity in a brain region involved in processing emotions such as fear and anxiety, the basolateral amygdala, BLA, that's what
Mhm,
my
mhm,
acronym.
mhm,
This was further identified to be related to specialized proteins within brain cells known as the calcium-dependent SK2 channels associated with anxiety behavior. In conditions when the body and brain are exposed to live microbeam metabolites, the
mhm,
SK2 channels act like a clutch, thus preventing neurons from becoming overly excited and firing too frequently, which I guess is kind of what happens, I guess, with anxious people.
mhm,
Associate Professor Sean J. from Duke Nuss Neuroscience and Behavioral Disorders, um, and one of the lead authors explained, quote, our findings revealed the intricate neural process that links microbes to mental health. Those without any live microbes showed higher levels of anxious behavior than those with live bacteria. Essentially, the lack of these microbes disrupted the way their brains functioned, particularly in areas that control fear and anxiety, leading to anxious behavior. To better
mhm,
understand the role of microbes in this process, the researchers introduced live microbes into germ-free mice. This reduced the elevated neuron, it's basically neuron activity in the
uh,
basolateral, the BAS, and thus SK2 channel activity. As a result, the mice showed significantly less anxiety-related behavior. So when they're introducing, I guess this kind of would be kind of, I guess, like the probiotic, or quote unquote, that they're trying to
uh,
see. This is kind of the result they're getting in the mice
okay.
of less anxiety.
Huh.
Um, their emotional responses became like those exposed to microbees. The researchers also tried treatment with indoles, microbial metabolites
Uh,
produced by certain microbees. When the germ-free mice were given indoles, they showed reduced activity in the BAS and displayed less anxiety-related behavior. This demonstrated that our indigenous microbeads produce metabolites, which suggests a direct link between our microbiota and maintaining mental balance.
uh,
Professor Sven Peterson, I think it's Peterson, from the Department of
mhm,
Research, National Neuroscience Institute of Singapore, who's also another lead author of the study, said establishing hunger signals and controlling hunger is an evolutionarily conserved defense mechanism.
uh,
Totally get that. The physiological switch at birth can therefore be viewed as a first major wave of anxiety exposure for the newborn. Yeah, I get that. Which simply says, quote, if you don't eat, you will die. And I I don't know if this necessarily is the case for everyone who deals with anxiety, but I know with my mom, that is
uh,
definitely one of the things that can trigger hers
uh,
is not getting food in a timely fashion for me. I guess I can kind of get like that too, but it's like I can push that further. I mean, why would you want to? But I can push that further without feeling that anxiety.
right.
Whereas, like, my mom, it's very quick. And I think that really is linked to her. Like, she had a hypoglycemia at one point, and
Mm,
kind of having to have food nearby. It's kind of a comfort thing for her, too. Not necessarily
mhm,
she'll eat it, but it's just like she needs to know she has access to something. Otherwise, it can trigger her anxiety. So I get that from that perspective.
mm,
Um, Additionally, birth is associated with exposure to breast milk, known to contain microbeads that can produce molecules known as indoles, and which we've been talking about. Indoles are known to be secreted, I hate that word, in plants when they are exposed to stress or malnutrition.
mhm,
And in this paper, we report a similar mechanism in which indoles can regulate anxiety levels in mammals, that is, different levels of circulating microbial plasma indoles in the blood may reflect different sensitivity and vulnerability to stressful situations and therefore variable risk of experiencing anxiety related solutions.
mm,
The implications of these observations are multiple. For example, it opens the therapeutic potential of targeting the gut brain axis to treat anxiety related disorders by restoring the microbe composition through dietary supplementation with indoles or by introducing indole producing gut microbes as probiotics. In
mhm,
other words, it opens for tailor-made therapies in line with 21st century precision medicine. Studies such as this illustrate the close hereditary relationship that exists between our indigenous microbes and the higher complexity of life.
mm,
Um, so I was going to skip ahead here. So the future of probiotic anxiety treatment. So the team now hopes to explore clinical trials to determine whether indole-based probiotics or supplements can be effectively used in humans as a natural anxiety treatment. If successful, this could mark the beginning of a new era in mental health care, one where gut microbes help keep our minds at ease. So it'll be really interesting to see like where that can go.
yeah.
If it can
Mm,
go anywhere, and yeah,
yeah, it'll be good to see if that will go anywhere in the near future so we can
yeah.
just look at it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think gut health really is important for many things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think uh, without going into a lot of detail, just again seeing how anxiety can affect my mom,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think something like focusing on her gut health
Mm-hmm.
is like something that can really help with that because I know her gut health, or just like in that sense, is another trigger for her anxiety as well. So, you know, I think
Mm,
I think this is great.
yeah, yeah, we great for people that that struggles with anxiety on an
Hmm.
everyday basis.
Hmm.
So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. As a person who deals with anxiety very differently, but deals with
Mhm,
it
mhm,
probably on a fairly daily basis. Yeah,
mhm,
this is great.
mhm,
Okay, let's move on to the next topic. So this is that woman who got awarded money for falling off a Harry Potter ride. Interested
mhm,
to know how this happens. So, a U.S.
mhm.
federal jury has awarded 7.25 million US dollars to a 74-year-old
Oh, wow.
Arizona woman for a spine injury she suffered in a fall while exiting the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey ride at Universal Studios Hollywood. Pamela Morrison was getting seated on the popular attraction with her grandson in September of 2022 when she would exit after her harness failed to secure properly. Morrison slipped and fell when stepping from a moving walkway onto solid ground, according to her lawsuit. So honestly, those moving like walkways, not that
Yeah.
they terrify me. I had like I don't know if you've necessarily been on this ride, but there's one in particular that I'm thinking of, Wonderland, that's like a
Yeah.
boat one that the platform just moves and like the rides like the boats never move, stop moving. I'm terrified. Like the ride is fun, so I like going on it
Mhm.
when I've been there. But like that platform does not stop moving. And I'm afraid like I'm gonna hurt myself. Like
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't. I've never been to Wonderland that much. But
yeah, I've been a few times.
um,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's been a bit for me since I've been.
Hmm.
It's last
Hmm.
time I went was probably about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Roughly. Roughly 10 years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's that one particular one is the one that's like a
Hmm.
round one. It's one of the water rides. And um it's fun. It's a fun
Hmm.
ride, but like
Hmm.
and it's actually not no, there's seatbelts. That's incorrect. There are seatbelts, but
All right.
it's the thing doesn't stop moving. The boats basically come in um into this one area of
Hmm.
that moving thing,
Hmm.
and you have to kind of like jump in it while the thing is moving and hope you can get in there without hurting yourself. And like the
Hmm.
spaces between the seats, like you literally have to be like a small child to fit through them.
Hmm.
And then it has like these steps going into it. So
Hmm.
it's again, it's a fun ride,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's
Dangerous, you'd say?
it's terrifying because again, like when
Hmm.
last time I went, like I said, was 2016, I
Hmm.
think is when I went. Um I went with my brother and I'll drop names here. I'll just bleep it out. Like I went with and her I think her cousin. So it was the four of us. And I don't think I went on that ride. I think it was just me and my brother. Um and yeah, like you take your life into your hands to get into that freaking ride and hope that you're gonna be okay. But it's the moving platform for me. It's yeah, it's not fun. Anyways, enough of that. Let's go back to this. Um Her attorney, Taylor Cruz, argued that Morrison's fall, which caused a spinal compression fracture,
Hmm.
was due to employees' failure to halt the moving walkway and allow the woman to exit safely. So that's the thing. I've not been on this ride. Horrible,
Hmm.
I know, as a Potterhead, but anyways, I've not been on this ride. But my question is like, okay, is this walkway supposed to continue moving? Like how in the boat ride I was describing, is it
Hmm.
supposed to continuously keep moving while you're going into the ride, or does
Hmm.
that moving walkway stop to allow people to get onto the ride and then it starts back up again? Is this walkway like the mechanism for the ride to start or whatever?
Hmm.
Um, so That's my question. Because then if the walkway is not supposed to be moving while people are going into it, then
Right.
yes, you're freaking liable. Why didn't you not turn that off first? To either she needed to switch to another place so that her
Mhm.
harness is going to be fastened, or
Mhm.
like what? Like I want to understand here, like why this
Now,
happened.
was this 70-year-old plus woman by herself, or was she with
She was with her
family then?
grandson.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so she was
Okay.
going on with her grandson.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah. And again, I don't know the makeup of the ride. I
Mhm.
know maybe you're not going to necessarily understand what I'm talking about, but for
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Potterheads that do, like, is this ride something a person, especially an adult, can get in easily? Is it shaped like Hagrid's motorcycle, where you have like the piece where Harry's sitting in, then you have the piece that Hagrid's sitting in? I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't know the shape of this. Is it looking like a broom? I
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
know what the ride looks like. But if it, that's the thing, if it's like hard for an adult, because I find the older I get, kind of again, using Wonderland as an example, I
Mhm.
first went to Wonderland when I was 9 years old. Getting in and out of rides is obviously a lot easier when you're nine.
Yeah.
I went again when I was 13. Again, still pretty easy to get in and out. And
Mhm.
then I went again at 15. And then the next time I went after 15 or 16 years old was with my ex-husband, I was, nearly 8 years later.
That's
I'm still a little more agile. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're still in your early 20s. You're still kind of young, right? So, like, it's still
Right.
not too difficult to get in and out of things. I
Mhm.
would say the last time I went, which again was maybe, I think a year after I went with my ex,
Mhm.
I'm kind of in that mid-20 range now, and I'm like, this
Right.
is getting harder. And then again, going
Mhm.
to the X last year with my brother, I'm
Mhm.
now 33 at the time, 34
Right.
now, I was 33 at the
Right.
time.
Right.
It's kind of like, yeah, this is getting harder. I can only imagine at 74 where it's like, can you do that? Like, I can't
Mm.
imagine my grandmother, who's about 10 years older than her, um, even if she was able bodied to do these things, could
Mhm.
come in and out of things like that. Like, it's not easy. So it's like ensure safety for this woman. Because again, for her, um, at 74, you get injured,
Mhm.
well, your body's not gonna bounce back as easy than
Well,
if
what
you're
did
like in your 30s.
well, I'm not gonna blame too much
No,
on the
no, I'm not so much
grandson.
blaming her, but I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah.
say,
No, or the grandson, but
no, no,
like,
no, I'm
what
not
you
blaming any of them.
doing?
What I'm more
Uh,
saying is it's like ensure her safety
mhm.
because if she is to hurt herself,
Yeah, yeah.
her body's not going to bounce back because again, if you look at people again being in the industry, seeing people who have car accidents, slip and falls in the different
Mhm.
ages that
Mhm.
those things can happen. When you're in your
Right.
20s, you're fine. You're bouncing back 9 times out of
Mhm.
10.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and you're being because your body is able to heal itself fast enough.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
you're like in your 50s, 60s, 70s and you're
Yeah.
getting injured, your body's just not capable of bouncing back as easily because you're more frail, you're more fragile. So that's
All
just
right.
genetics. That's how your body is made up. So like ensure her safety so that she's not getting hurt and in a sense permanently
Mhm.
because it sounds like it's a permanent injury. Anyway,
You would think, like, if you're a grandson, and I'm not saying the grandson, you would
I don't
think
know how
that
old her
70,
grandson was.
a
Um,
70-plus-year-old woman going
mhm.
on to those types of rides would be like kind of a little bit dangerous. You would expect, but
Yeah,
then
but
again, it, you want your grandma to have a little fun, which I understand. But
let's be
like,
careful with that though, because we don't know the
yeah,
age of her grandson,
yeah,
right? She's 74 years old.
uh
Her grandson could be, let's say, could be anywhere between 10 and 14 years old, right? And
true.
I'm in a different headspace because my grandparents, when I was 10 to 14 years old,
mhm,
where in their late 50s to early 60s. They are young because I my mom had me young, but that's not the majority, right? Most grandparents at that age is around, you know, at late 60s, early 70s at that age. Maybe they're just not thinking about it. Maybe they're just not thinking about the fact that, oh, my grandma's old. Oh, sorry. My grandma's older and not thinking about the fact that this could hurt them. Um, you gotta think back when you're 10 to 14 years old. Did you think that your grandmother was so fragile that she couldn't do anything? Because I sure as hell didn't think about like that with my grandmother. Now, my grandmother could beat down people. Try and cross my grandma when I was 10 to 14 years old. It ain't happening. You know what I mean? So that's when I get at it is kind of like he's probably just this grandkid is probably just not thinking about how this grandmother could potentially hurt herself. And you know what? On another note too, good on her, because my grandma would never. My grandma wouldn't even play a board game with me. Okay. This good on this grandma for getting in there and then doing this with her grandson. Anyways, um, quote, it would have cost them 4 seconds to stop it, but instead they wanted to keep the ride moving no matter what, no matter its quota of 1,800 riders per hour.
mm.
That's
Well, I'm
wild.
sure a lot of grandmas would like to stay under the ground versus.
Yeah, yeah, my grandma, listen, my grandma's different, right?
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
and I'm mainly talking about my mom's mother because she was the one that was probably around the most as a kid, but um my grandma
Mhm,
was the kind of grandma I would go to her and be like, "Can you play a game with me?" No, I'm not gonna play I'm not gonna play because that's how she was. And apparently, that's how she was with
mhm,
as a
mhm,
mother as
mhm.
well, not just as a grandmother, but as a mother as well.
Right. Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's how she was. She would never have gone on to a ride with me. She never would have. I remember going to Jamaica. My grandparents took me to Jamaica when I was 4. My grandpa's in the beach with me, playing with me, the whole bit. My grandma's just sticking her toes in the water, just sticking her
Mhm,
toes in the water. And that's my grandma. So I come from a different place of hearing grandmas doing this. I'm just like, I never had that. It was mainly my one grandpa. My one grandpa was the one, my mom's father, that would do things with me, play with me, and, interact with me and stuff like that. I didn't
mhm,
even have that with my dad. My dad didn't
mhm,
really, but no,
mhm,
mom, not true. I can't say that. First time I went to Wonderland, my dad took me, so
mhm.
I can't say that. But um, that was kind of how it is. My other grandparents didn't do none of that with me.
Right.
My deceased grandfather just sat in front of a television. So I would call him the TV king. Um, but yeah, like he didn't really do much with his grandkids either.
Right.
So it to me when I see stuff like that, when I see grandmas like or grandparents just in general doing stuff with their grandkids like this, it's like,
Mhm,
good on you for doing it. Sucks that she got hurt in the process though. That's the part and that's not on the grandkid. And I know you're not saying it is. I'm not saying
mhm.
it's not on the grandkid. It's just like
Yeah.
they screwed up and they should have made sure they were doing things correctly.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Lawyers for Universal Studios Hollywood argued that Morrison was focused on her grandson and not on where she was stepping, so the fall was her fault. Wow, the stretches of trying to put this on the victim. Um, Although, yeah, she may have been worried about her grandson, it is still your client's responsibility to make sure that they're doing things correctly to
Mhm,
ensure the safety of the patrons in there. Stop it. Stop it with the nonsense.
mhm,
Maybe there's some liability on her part, and I'm not going to say that there isn't. There could be, I'll say, um, I don't know, 90-10. 90
right.
being on the park, 10 being on her. So yeah, sure, but you're still gonna compensate her,
Mhm,
accordingly. Like, come on. Anyways,
mhm, mhm.
um, After a 3-day trial, the California jury deliberated for 4 hours on February 14th before finding the theme park responsible for creating the dangerous conditions that led to Morrison's accident. She was awarded $250,000 for future medical expenses, $2 million for past pain and suffering, and $5 million for future pain and suffering. That is
Uh,
an insane award. Y'all should have settled out of court. Something
that's
tells me,
crazy.
something tells me it was probably a lot less if you had settled out of court. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. A
Hmm.
message seeking comment on the verdict was sent to Universal Studios Hollywood. Quote,
Uh-huh.
the fall changed her whole life, and that's what the jury saw. Obviously, we feel that this was a just result. And I
Uh-huh.
agree.
Yeah.
Listen, let's
100%. Yeah.
let's keep the fun safe,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also, did it have to be on a Harry Potter ride? God, I'm
Mm-hmm.
kidding. Um, but that's that one. So our
Mm-hmm.
final topic, which is a very interesting one. So this is already in effect. So as of April 10th, Canadian passport holders will need a visa to enter Brazil. This marks a shift from the current policy that allows visa-free travel for up to 90 days for tourism and business purposes. Now, for tourism purposes, travelers will require a visa. For business and student visas, a visa is not required for stays up to 90 days, so that's staying the same. But for
Right.
personal reasons, you need a visa. The change will also be applied to travelers from the US and Australia. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
just Canada that's being affected by this, but also the States and Australia.
Stats. Okay.
Quote, starting on April 10th, 2025, Canadians will require a visa to enter Brazil. Each country or territory is responsible for setting its own visa and entry requirements. A statement that was read from Global Affairs Canada. So, for
Mm-hmm.
further information, please consult the official sources of the government of Brazil. According to the uh, VFS's website, the company authorized by the Brazilian government to issue the e-visa, so that's the electronic visa,
Mm-hmm.
quote, if you already possess a valid physical visa in your passport for your visit's purpose, you do not need to apply for a new visa. If you intend to stay more than 90 days, you must obtain an extension from the federal police before your authorized stay before your authorized stay expires, which is pretty typical, according to Canada's federal government website. Entry requirements vary depending on the type of passport used for travel. Regular Canadian passports must be valid for at least 6 months beyond the date of departure from Brazil. So,
Right.
for example, if your passport's going to expire 4 months from now,
Mm-hmm.
that's no bueno. You need to get that. I feel like if your passport's going to expire in 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
you should just get it renewed. Whatever.
Yeah.
Because you just
Yeah.
never know, right?
Exactly.
Um, applicants can apply. So I think if you go to like CVT News and you search this up, you can find the link to apply because I don't have like an actual website. Former Brazilian president, I think it's Jair Bolsonaro, scrapped the visa requirements in a 2019 decree to try and boost the country's tourism industry.
Mm-hmm.
President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva suspended the free entry of Americans, Canadians, and Australians in March of 2023, shortly after the defeated Bolsonaro, saying it was based on the principle of reciprocatory. Okay, as Brazilians still need visas for those countries.
Mm.
Basically saying like tit for tat. That's basically what he's saying.
Okay. Okay.
Which I never knew that was even a thing. Like I didn't know even before 2019
Mm-hmm.
that you couldn't go to Brazil without a visa. Makes things really interesting.
2019. This
So
this law has been affected in what since
no, so
2019.
here's what happened.
Yeah.
In 2019,
Yeah.
the president of or prime minister or whatever of Brazil in
Mm-hmm.
2019,
Mm-hmm.
which has now since been defeated by somebody else, um, lifted the visa requirements to travel to Brazil in order to boost tourism.
Okay,
So
I
call
see.
it from
Uh
2019 to 2025,
huh.
April or so, you could go to Brazil without a visa in Australia, States, Canada. Now,
Okay.
and I guess pre 2019, you now need the visa. And it's basically
Hmm.
them saying, we need visas for your countries. So now you need visas for our country. It's basically what they're saying. But for me, because again, anyone
Okay.
again in the 90-day universe who watches 90 Day anything kind of knows Brazil is kind of one of the hot places where
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
coming from. Um, so it makes me really interesting that how do these people travel back and forth so much
Hold on.
to go to
To
Brazil?
to travel, not to live.
Personal travel. You need a visa.
Huh.
If you're doing business or student visa, well, let's not say it's student visa, but
Business.
if
Okay.
you're going for business purposes or you're going as a student, you do not need a visa. If you're going to be there between 1 to 90 days. If you're
Hmm.
going to, I guess, exceed that 90 days, then I guess you would need something else. But if you're only going to be there for 90 days, then
Uh-huh.
you, or below, then you do not need a visa if you're going for business or student.
Hmm.
Personal, you do.
Well, I understand if you're like interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought that we ever needed a visa to travel to any country. And that we ever needed that beforehand. But apparently we did, and it was Brazil and maybe potentially other countries too. I don't know.
No, no, maybe he wasn't happy in the was he one of the ministers or the presidents that visited G7
I don't
uh
know. But this was again,
or
G7
the
is in the
NATO?
process now, right? Oh, NATO.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they're a part of NATO, if Brazil is a part of NATO. No clue.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
because I don't know. Isn't it NATO mainly European countries, or am I wrong there?
Think you're wrong because the United States was there too. So like
Right, true,
and
true,
then
true.
Canada too. So,
Right, that's true.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't, no, I don't know if Brazil's part of NATO, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just it's interesting. Like it's
Yeah,
Brazil, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And like what? So for personal
Maybe
reasons, I'm gonna get
yeah,
potentially denied to travel to Brazil. Like,
yeah. Well,
why?
maybe he wasn't happy when he visited Canada. He was like, well,
Well,
you
it's not
know
just
what?
Canada; it's also the States and Australia. It's
Yeah.
also it's both of these countries as well. That's why I bring up 90 Day Fiance and that because it's like you have, you have your culties or
Hmm.
Sean from like the most recent season who
Hmm.
have married
Hmm.
Brazilian people.
Hmm.
Um, Even thinking like Seeking Sister Wife, Garrett, if you remember that dum dum. Don't ask questions. We don't have time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where he's looking for, he wants to go see Little Wife. Don't
Hmm.
ask.
Hmm.
And she's Brazilian. I mean, the first time they saw her was in Mexico, but they did eventually get to Brazil to see her. I
Hmm.
have questions. And then they had dated another chick from Brazil. Again, like I said, the guy's a whack job. Don't ask questions. So,
So,
like,
I
like
wonder. So I wonder if this law is effective from all countries, not just Canada.
it's Canada, United States, Australia. That's the only ones they've talked about.
Huh.
Yeah.
Really.
So I don't know.
Hopefully they're not tying us with Trump. So it's just that's the thing.
Well,
Yeah. So
but
like,
Australia has nothing to do with Trump.
yeah, 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 true.
They're because
Maybe,
I don't know if other countries
yeah.
um well, no, I guess here's the thing. Brazil
Hmm.
probably didn't do it like Mexico, for example, because as I
Uh-huh.
just talked about a second ago,
Yeah.
a Brazilian woman was able to travel to Mexico easily enough. So I think
Mm.
they're really only doing it to the countries where we expect visas from them in order
Right,
to
right,
come to
right.
this country.
Mm.
So I think that's what's going on here and why they're not targeting other countries.
Right. Well, it's probably a safety precaution or something like that, or a safety.
Maybe, I don't know. I think in this case, it's a tit for tat. for
Oh,
Brazil
okay,
to
maybe
do it.
yeah,
It's a
maybe
tit
yeah,
for
like I
tat.
said, like because like he's probably like upset, like, haha, since you're doing that, we are gonna do that in your
Right,
face.
right, right.
No, I feel like that's
It's stupid. Stupid. Um, so Lula's decision was postponed from coming into force 3 times as the government negotiated to get reciprocate, okay, reciprocating, basically,
yeah,
for
yeah,
Brazilians, but no change was made. Brazil's
hmm
Senate approved a bill earlier this year to keep the visa exemption from for the 3 countries, but the mood changed in the lower house after Trump imposed a 10% tariff on Brazilian goods. So now it's like, y'all. So I guess that's what's gonna happen.
yeah. That's
Which in
the
that case, I mean, then do it to them. We we're not doing anything wrong. You have people like Colts, but you know what? He's kind of high redemption.
Trump,
But that's besides the
Trump.
point. You have people like that who take advantage of people sometimes.
Are you talking about
I'm
the
just talking about
president?
reality TV for a second here.
Oh, okay.
Go after them. We didn't do anything to you. We're the good
hmm
guys.
hmm
We're mad at Trump too.
hmm
And then
hmm
oompa loompa.
I don't think Mark Carney's gonna be like, oh, 10%. We're not.
No,
I don't
no,
think.
we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like clearly they were kind of back and forth with doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Trump did that, they're like, oh, fuck it. Let's just do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
we always find a way back to blaming Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
But that's basically
Eh?
it. Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. So this ends episode 115 of the Next Tape podcast. The Next Tape podcast is available now on all podcast platforms. We also have a website called Tanika.
Next Take Podcast off podpage.io.
And where else are we at?
Facebook and Instagram at Next Take Podcast, and Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Next Take Pod.
And you can contact us on our email at mikeltanika@gmail.com. That is mikeltanika@gmail.com. So we talked about a lot of stuff, like, during the 3 topic. Tanika could just uh rev- o- over or
Go over it again.
review. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
The
and this
episode.
time I'm staring right at it. So,
Yeah.
we talked about the oh no, hold on. Yeah, we talked about anxiety and good health.
hmm hmm
A woman being awarded money after falling off the Harry Potter ride,
Yeah.
and the fact that we now have to have a visa to travel to Brazil.
Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed that episode. Um, and I think I have nothing else to say. You have anything else to say, Tinika? Or
Um,
that's
no, I think that's it.
mm, okay. All right, all right. Well, I don't know when this episode's coming out,
This
so
one's coming
it's come.
out. I can tell you, it's coming out on July 7th.
Okay, okay, so never mind. So we're long past Canada Day. All right,
No,
so
we should have done that. We should have done that in the last
yeah, so that
episode.
that the last
Yeah,
episode, but
I
it's
realized that
okay.
this morning after
Yeah,
I'm like, God
yeah,
damn.
yeah. Okay. Uh, so whatever. Hope y'all enjoyed your Canada Day.
Yeah.
So like and everything. But but yeah, I'll end this episode. So I'm Mikkel, and
And I'm Tanika.
all right, we're out until
Thursday.
all right. See you guys Thursday. Peace, guys.
Bye.